thank you all for being here. So, tonight's topic is arpeggios. Arpeggios for fingerstyle and classical guitarists. And I think arpeggios are maybe the best thing, that we can do as fingerstyle players. Because the guitar sounds fantastic when all of our strings are ringing and when we're playing chords and harmonies, even harmonies that have some non-chord tones in it, and we can let the notes ring. And some instruments play scales extremely well, and some instruments play very loudly, very well. The guitar does none of that. The guitar plays arpeggios. Acoustic guitars especially play arpeggios and chords very, very, very well. So something that we can definitely work on and exploit in our playing. But let me just play because there's nothing better than having a little playing here. So I'm just gonna play like maybe the most famous guitar piece with arpeggios, I think. The very but before I do that, it's been a long day of work, and I forgot to plug in my microphone. All right, so the most famous, I think, guitar piece that exploits the arpeggio, the very favorite Spanish romance, right? So very, very a simple piece, but we have this constant arpeggio pattern with the descending arpeggio happening there. Okay? There are plenty of pieces with ascending arpeggios that happen too that are just wonderful to play. Let's see. That's a nice piece called Reflections by Charles Duncan, a great student piece to play that we're going to maybe take a little look at. And then once you get your arpeggio going really well, maybe not exactly an arpeggio, but definitely similar to the arpeggio technique, is the famous tremolo technique that is just fantastic. And again, using our fingers in our arpeggio technique to create the feeling and the sound of a sustained note. All those ideas of what we can do with an arpeggio, okay, and good reasons to bring our arpeggio technique up. Not to mention all the wonderful accompaniments you can play with arpeggios and fingerstyle pieces, Blackbird, not to mention Hallelujah by Cone, and just so many wonderful pieces that you can use the arpeggio for. So we're gonna explore many of those. But let's get started with some technique. I'm looking at the different arpeggio patterns, just because I am a classically trained player, and I find it easier to talk about our fingers in this way. I talk about my right hand, or my plucking hand, this way. P for pulgar is my thumb. I, index. M, middle. And A, ring finger. Okay, P-I-M-A. And as a teacher, I'm sure you will appreciate this, or even as a student in a class, P-I-M-A, that's about your plucking hand, right? So you never have to say plucking hand, index finger, right? And then everyone says, wait, which hand, index finger? My fretting hand or my plucking hand? My right hand or my left hand? I, plucking hand, index finger, okay? So always in my plucking hand, P-I-M-A. Then also, if in my classroom I have some students who are left-handed, no problem. It's the plucking hand. P-I-M-A, okay? Now, sometimes in some books, it will be T for thumb. That's fine. It's just in Spanish, P for pulgar, Okay, so let's start with some ascending arpeggios. Ascending arpeggios, meaning that we're going up in direction. Okay, it is up in pitch also because we're going from like the third string to the second string to the first string. So that is ascending. And as long as we're not doing anything with our left hand, this will be ascending. So we're going to start from the beginning. This might be a review for some of you, but there might be some tips here that you haven't picked up on before. So I've got my thumb on the third string, the G string, and it is hovering inside the sound hole, okay, right above the sound hole. Then my index finger is on the second string and the B string, and it's a little bit towards the bridge. So I like to say it's above my rosette, above this pretty decoration on my guitar. And then my middle finger is also above the rosette. So my thumb is inside the soundboard, the sound hole, and my fingers are outside the sound hole. So I have this shape. Okay? That way when I pluck, my fingers aren't like getting all tangled up with my thumb. Okay? Everything's free. So I have had some students who play this way, but then you don't get quite the volume because you can't pull as hard. So here I can move my fingers very, very far. Okay? And here's my plan. I bring my hand a little forward. So now when I play my thumb, there's no chance for it to come and rest on the next string. It just comes through the string very easily. Then I'm going to play index and middle, and I'm just going to play them together. And then when I play index and middle together, they feel like they're one, almost like one finger. They move together. They're on the string, they push in a little bit, and then they come towards the palm of my hand. I say they come towards the palm of my hand because they're not going to come all the way into the palm of my hand because that's too far. They come towards the palm of my hand and then they relax. So they just come towards the palm of my hand and relax. So they're just kind of going like that. So I'm going to play my thumb on the third string, index and middle, on strings 2 and 1. So 3, 2 and 1, 3, 2 and 1. Okay? And as I do this, you can see I push in just a little bit, push in, play, relax. Push in, play, relax. Push in, play, relax. Push in, play, relax. And do you also notice that I start with all my fingers on the strings? I start with them on the strings. Okay? And then when I play my thumb, it relaxes. It hangs out there. It's hanging out there. Push in I and M, play, relax. Start again, everyone's on the string. Thumb, index, middle. Everyone's on the string. Thumb, index, middle. Let's do it a few more times. Let's go to the next step. I'm going to put all my fingers on the string, P, I, and M. I'm going to play thumb, relax, index, relax, middle, relax. All back on the strings. Thumb, I and M are on the strings. I, M is on the string. M, all relax, back on the strings. Okay, so what I'm doing, this technique is called preparation or planting. And the idea is that in order to get some sense of stability, because let's face it, our fingers are kind of big and the strings are really small, okay? And, you know, maybe I get a little nervous, okay? How am I going to find those strings when I get a little shake in my hand, you know? I might. It happens. So I'm going to plant my fingers on the strings, then I'm going to release them one at a time as I play. P, I, M. Plant, P, I, M. Plant, P, I, M. So right as I play with my thumb, all my fingers come down, and I have a nice stable beginning to my arpeggio. Okay, now let me have a little caveat there. All my fingers come down that are in the ascending portion of that arpeggio. All my fingers come down and rest on the strings, prepare on the strings that are going to be used in the ascending portion of the arpeggio. So my ring finger, my A finger, does not prepare because in this arpeggio, for instance, I'm not using it. My arpeggio is P, I, M. P, I, M. P, I, M. few exercises here. Okay, we're going to play PIM, and I'm going to start here, and I'm going to play with my thumb on the 3rd string. I'm going to play 4 arpeggios. Then I'm going to move my thumb to the 4th string, play 4 arpeggios. Thumb to the 5th string, thumb to the 6th string. And as I move my thumb, I have to make sure index and middle stay comfortable on the top 2 strings. Okay? So 4 arpeggios on each set of strings. Here we go. Ready, and 3, 2, 1, 3. Now I'm going to the 4th string with my thumb. Now I'm going to the 5th string with my thumb. Yeah, I feel a little bit of stretch, and that's why I'm sure to do that planting. Now the 6th string with my thumb. One more time. Thumb on the 3rd string. Ready? So did you feel that? Did you feel that opening of your thumb? Yeah. So this guy here, this is a nice, it's a nice joint, right? And it can open, and we should let it open. Okay. So the idea is that our thumb opens so that our fingers can stay stable. I don't know if you've ever seen a new guitarist. Sometimes they rock back and forth. Don't do that. Talk about lack of stability. Okay. We want to stay as stable as possible. Okay, here we go. Ready? 3rd string with the thumb. 4 arpeggios on each set of strings. Ready, and P, I. All your fingers down. Move your thumb to the 4th string. Move your thumb to the 5th string. Move your thumb to the 6th string. Okay. Cool. Any questions so far? All right, so that's a good starting point. But we have so many other options for arpeggios, right? So many other patterns. Looking at our handout, I seem to have lost mine somewhere. I did lose mine. Whoops, now I lost you guys. There you go. I believe that the next pattern is PIA. Okay, right? PIA. So we're going to play our thumb on the 4th string, our index on the 3rd string, and our ring finger, our A finger, on the 1st string. Okay, so I'm going to play P, I, A. So I'm playing, in this case, I'm playing D, G, E. Okay, there you go. All right, so let's try the same exercise, but now with the other arpeggio. Okay, P, I, A. Thumb on the 4th string, index on the 3rd string, A, ring finger on the 1st string. Okay, same exercise. Ready? Just different fingers. Here we go. 4 arpeggios on each grouping. Ready, and 4, 3, 1. And then to the 5th string. And then to the 6th string. Do it again. 4th string. 5th string. Keep that planting going, and then the 6th string. Okay, now the last arpeggio we're going to work with, ascending arpeggio, is a bit harder. We're going to go play thumb, middle, M, annular, A, P, M, A. Okay, so I'm putting my thumb on the 4th string, my middle on the 2nd string, and my A, my ring finger, on the 1st string. P, M, A. Okay? Again, I can plant everything down, so let's give it a try. Ready? Next string. Next string. Back to the 4th string. Here we go. Okay, so the takeaway from this exercise here, this part of the presentation, is that we want to play our arpeggios from the string. We want our right hand fingers on the strings before we play. We don't want to play from the air because it's not very reliable, right? Now, one of my very, very favorite pieces to play, working on this, is Snowflight. I don't know if any of you guys know this piece. Snowflight by Andrew York. And if you look down to the first excerpt, it says Snowflight from 8 Discernments by Andrew York. And we have some tab there, as well as the notation. All right, it's a beautiful piece. And if you don't know Andrew York, I mean, you should. He's one of our, most fantastic composers for the guitar. And instrumental, writes in classical and more jazz styles. He's just fantastic. So you definitely should know a bit about Andrew York. You can read the tab. You can read the notation. Shall we give it a try? Okay. The whole piece, I mean, this whole short excerpt and the whole entire piece just uses the PIM arpeggio. I think there's one part that uses the PIMA arpeggio. Okay? Okay, here we go. So it's in 12/8, but we'll count it in 4. Here we go. Let me make so you can see. All right. Same exact arpeggio. Okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the beginning of Snowflight. You've got to check out the piece. It's just beautiful, and it's also beautiful to hear Andrew York play it. He has a wonderful video up to tempo. It sounds like this. Just really beautiful. Now, one thing I have to mention here, we've been talking about planting, okay? And so far we've been talking about the full plant, or full preparation, where at the beginning of every arpeggio we put down all of our fingers, okay? That's great. That's great for our feeling of stability and comfort and keeps us from making a mistake. But you know what it also does? It cuts off the sound, right? So... that tiny bit of silence. Okay, so eventually we're going to get rid of that planting. Okay, so planting is a great tool, and I like to start with it. Okay, and then eventually I'm going to get rid of it, and instead of doing the full plant, I'm going to do what's called the sequential plant, which is exactly how it sounds. Instead of putting all my fingers down, I'm going to play one finger, then the next finger, then the next finger. So I play my thumb, and then I play my index, and then I play my middle. So instead of playing like this, I play. So as soon as my thumb plays, my index is on the string. As soon as my index plays, my middle is on the string. So still, I'm not playing from the air. Still, I'm on the string just a tiny bit early, but I don't have that cut off of all the notes. So I get more of the ringing. So if I play Snowflight with this sequential plant, that sounds a bit better, right? Okay, so that brings us to our next topic. Okay. Because we've got a lot of information coming at you. Just wanna be clear. So the full plant works for the ascending arpeggio, And sometimes, even though it has that problem that we just talked about where it cuts off all the notes, sometimes I'm in a piece or a song and, I am feeling shaky, and I will use it on purpose because I just got to calm myself down. You know what I mean? I just got to make sure I get that arpeggio happening, and I just got to feel the strings. Okay, so I will put my fingers down, and I will have the full plant, and then I feel better, and my technique, kicks in, and I'll move to the sequential plant. And I can do that on an ascending arpeggio. But on a descending arpeggio, if you use the full plant, our hand gets really confused. Most people's hands. So if I'm playing a descending arpeggio, like let's use our same example, our P, and instead of playing P-I-M, we're going to play P-M-I. So my thumb is on the third string, playing P-M-I. My thumb's on the third string, my middle's on the second string, my index finger's on the third string. There, if I plant down everything, it's like my brain is having a hard time. My brain is having a hard time thinking about playing my middle finger when my index finger is already on the string. So, in general, we do not use the full plant on the descending arpeggio. We use the sequential plant. Lucky for us, we have that. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's try this out. I play my thumb, and as soon as I play my thumb, my middle finger's on the string. As soon as I play my middle finger, my index finger's on the string. Then I'm back to my thumb. So there's always a finger on the string. Okay? I had a wonderful teacher. Oh, the fantastic Oscar Gilia. I remember playing for him, and he had this great story about there's always someone in the kitchen watching the pot boil. Always someone's watching the pot boil, okay? That you never leave the pot on the stove by itself, okay? So it's either the thumb, or the middle finger's on the string, or the index finger's on the string, or the thumb's back on the string. You never want this because then, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose contact with the strings. And again, if I'm a little nervous, or if I'm, just not feeling all that confident, or that the idea that the strings are small and my hand is big, I might lose my place, and then I'm going to make a mistake. I'm not going to know where the strings are. I'm going to lose all my ability to just really play quickly and confidently. So let's play some descending arpeggios. Okay? And let's make it a little bit more interesting. You'll see on the top of this worksheet, to the left, or to the right-hand side, I have a little chord chart. A lot of you might know that chord, right? It's this diminished chord. Okay? I love this diminished chord, because I can slide it up. Okay? So we're going to start with this diminished chord down here. Okay? And we're going to play the arpeggio that goes, that goes P-M-I, P-M-I. Okay? With my thumb's going to start on the third string. My middle is on the first string. My index is on the second string. Okay? And I'm going to play 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 6, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2. Then I'm going to shift up. So I went pretty fast there, but you might get the idea. So what I'm doing with my right hand is I'm playing this. My fingers stay on the first string and the second string. So it's M-I, M-I, and my thumb goes from the third string to the fourth string, to the fifth string, to the sixth string. Then I come back up to the fifth string, to the fourth string. And then when I get back to the third string, that's when I shift my left hand. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, but this is one of them. Okay, let me know if I'm losing anyone. Okay, let's go slow. Okay? So get your chord on if you want. Okay? And remember, we are going to touch the string slightly before we play with our right hand finger. Okay? Thumb on the third string. Middle stays on the first string, index stays on the second string. Descending arpeggios. Ready, and 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 6, 1. Come back up, 5, 1, 2. Now let's shift. Ready, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 6, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2. Now shift to the third fret. Shift again. Shift again. Shift again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4. Shift again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. Shift one more time. And you can go all the way up. Okay, so why do I do this? You don't have to, obviously. You can practice the arpeggio without the chord. The reason I do it is because, I'm lazy about practicing. My students might be lazy about practicing. Not to say you're lazy about practicing, but it gives me a reason. It gives me a reason to play these arpeggios at least 12 times. Right? Because I'm going to shift 12 times. Maybe 24 times, because then I'll go down. Okay? So I will play the arpeggios, all these arpeggios that are written out, if I'm going to have an arpeggio practice session. I'm going to play these all, and I'll have a reason to play them over and over and over, the pattern over and over and over, because I'm shifting up. Okay? And if I play the pattern with the chord on this fret, and then on this fret, and then on this fret, I have something new to listen to, and then I also have a goal. Instead of counting, up to 100, I'm actually doing something musical. Okay? It's not essential to use the chord, but I find it's a really good practice tool. Okay? That and using chord progressions. If you have a favorite chord progression, or a chord progression that you're playing in a specific song, that's also a really helpful thing to use, and use any of these arpeggio patterns that are listed here. We don't have time, obviously, to go through all of these, but we went through the ascending patterns, and then one of the ascending patterns, then we just went through one of the descending patterns on page 2, and talked about the sequential planting. And let's just do one more descending arpeggio, because they are so hard. Let's do the one where we're going to play P, A, M, I. Okay? So I'm going to put my thumb on the 4th string, and then my A finger on the 1st string, my middle finger on the 2nd string, and my index finger on the 3rd string. So it's going to look a bit like this, if you can see. So I play my thumb, my A gets on the string, A, M gets on the string, M, I gets on the string, I plays, thumbs on the string. There's always a finger on the string. Just try that nice and slowly at your own tempo. P, A, M, I, P, A, M, I, P, A, M, I, P. And being really deliberate about getting the next finger on its next string, so that you have a sense of connection to the strings. So perhaps one of the most famous descending arpeggio exercises or pieces is the Etude Number 6 by Leo Brouwer. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but definitely one of the highlights and one of my favorites to play. There is like a 2-measure excerpt on the handout here. Let me play a little bit for you. The pattern is a little hard. Because notice this pattern. It's such a workout. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 with a thumb, and then my A finger goes to the second string. So it's a real tricky one. I tell you, I could not get half those notes unless I did that sequential preparation. Unless I got my finger on the string, my next finger on the string early, I would feel just like, whoa, where am I? Where am I out in the air there? You know, I just need to have some grounding. So that Etude Number 6 by Leo Brouwer is an excellent, excellent exercise for that, for the descending arpeggios. All right, so to recap just a little bit, we have our ascending arpeggios, which we can start out by using the simultaneous preparation or preparing our hand, and you can play it with we can play it up and down the neck using our diminished chord up and down the neck and playing all those patterns. We can play different chord progressions using different patterns. We can use the Snowflight by Andrew York as a lovely, lovely piece to practice that. When we play a descending arpeggio, we can't do the simultaneous preparation. And the simultaneous preparation anyways cuts off the notes for us, so we don't really want to use that all the time anyways. So the next step is to use the sequential preparation. That's the most useful, and that's what we need to use for the descending arpeggios. And so we can practice those next. And then we can, of course, put these into some combination where we could play an ascending and a descending arpeggio. You could imagine we could play like P-I-M-A-I-M, P-I-M-A-I-M. That's kind of, I hear it's kind of like the House of the Rising Sun, right? Right there, right? Right in there, or Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, right there. That would be that. That would be a great arpeggio to practice. Any arpeggio pattern you can think of would be a good, basically a good one to practice. Well, let's see. Before I go on to one last subject that's on my list, of course, I always have so many subjects and so many things to talk about and never enough time. But before I go there, let me check. Are there any questions that I missed? Wait, there's a Metallica song that starts with the Brouwer number 6. I didn't know that. I have to find it. Oh, this one. Yeah, this one, right? That is Brouwer number 6. Okay. Oh, with the open strings. Oh! Oh, no, this one. Okay, cool. How can you help your young listeners troubleshoot the striking sound on the descending pattern? Oh, you mean when you get the Z sound? That? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So sometimes, well, sometimes it does happen even, for older players. You get that kind of clicky sound, right? Okay, so that happens because it's a matter of where you hit the string, okay? So if your guitar students have some fingernails, and especially if they're not well filed and they're just kind of raggedy, and they hit the fingernails, it might cause a zzz sound, okay? Especially if the string is already ringing, and then they hit the fingernail on the string as they're going to strike it. That can cause that clicky sound. So maybe the easiest in a large guitar class, the easiest thing to do is to suggest your students not have fingernails to start, okay? And just get into the habit of playing very much on the fingertips, very much on their very, very fingertips, okay? And then as they get used to contacting the strings with their fingertips, which is appropriate for steel strings especially, and they can start to maybe, if they choose, to grow a little bit of fingernail, and then their contact point is also very much on the fingertip. But when beginning guitarists start to play and they're using their fingernails and they're using just the nail, they get a lot of that zzz sound. And in a big classroom especially, it's really hard to get your students to learn to file their nails smoothly, you know, unless you want to spend half your class period talking about filing nails. But in a private lesson, you can definitely do that. So I think that's probably the problem. Right. Oh, right. Right. The prepping of your fingers gets in the way of the vibrating string. Definitely. Definitely it does. So on the ascending arpeggio, prepping your fingers, or when you... So if I'm playing this, hear that silence? I mean, luckily the rest of my guitar keeps vibrating, so that's nice. That's a plus. So it kind of highs a little bit. But that's why the sequential preparation is preferable, because then only one string is being cut off at a time. So descending, if you're doing the sequential preparation, only one string is being cut off at a time. So hopefully the other sounds will keep on ringing and you won't hear absolute silence. So that's with my preparation, and I don't really hear the silence because the next note is still ringing. So I guess that also brings into the discussion, well, we got to make sure that our students are holding down the chord tones well, you know, so that things are ringing, or that we're playing chords that are easy enough for that to happen. The last thing I just want to talk a little bit about is Travis picking, which is also a type of arpeggio or finger picking, okay? And Travis picking is, well, it's named after Merle Travis, okay? And the absolute basis or bare bones of Travis picking, well, let's use a G chord, if you could. It sounds better. Is to play root and fifth. Okay, so I'm going to play my thumb. I'm going to play the 6th string and the 4th string. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. So 1, 2. Now I added my index finger on the G on the 3rd string on the and of 2. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. And before I get too far, can I just make sure what I wrote down? Yep, that's good. Okay. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 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 4. Now the end of 3, I added my middle finger on the 2nd string. Let's change the chord. Let's go from G to C to D. Okay, so we're going to play G to C to D. Only thing we have to know is where the root is. Okay? So the root on G is the 6th string, the root on C is the 5th string, and the root on D is the 4th string. Okay? And so then you're going to play the root, starting on G, we're going to play the root, and I'm going to play the 5th, but you don't have to play the 5th, you can play any chord tone. You could play the 3rd, which would be the 5th string, but I think the 5th sounds better, so you're going to play 6 to 4, 6 to 4. You're playing thumb, thumb, P, P, I, P, and P, 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 I. Let's go to C. And D. Back to G. So what did you do for the D chord? I ran out of strings, did you? Yeah, I ran out of strings. So what I did was I went from the root of the D chord, which is the 4th string, I went down to the 5th string for the A. Then I went thumb, 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 I, thumb, and thumb. Thumb, thumb, I, thumb, and thumb. P, P, I, P, and thumb. So with Travis picking, you have a lot of leeway. And I love it because, I mean, Fleetwood Mac is having like this big resurgence. I mean, I can't believe the number of my high school students who are like, oh yeah, Fleetwood Mac, aren't they great? I'm like, Fleetwood Mac? You guys, really? You know Fleetwood Mac? That's fantastic. So, Landslide is like the big deal now. I'm like, okay, we'll learn from Landslide. And Landslide is all about Travis picking. Okay, so getting them to play some Travis picking, some fingerstyle, this is right there. Mm-hmm. Oh, when the melody changes set strings to G, B, and B, E, for example. Oh, that's a good question. Matthew had a question about when the melody changes from string sets, like if, like, do I change my fingers? Because index and middle are like your strongest fingers, right? Rather than middle and annular. So when I go up to playing the top 2 strings, like the B and E string, do I play them with my middle and ring, or do I move my index and middle? Personally, I move my index and middle. Okay? Because my index and middle are really strong, where my middle and A are not quite as strong. And so I'm really comfortable just moving my index and middle. Unless I'm playing like some type of piece that is using all 4 fingers, and then I will not be able to move. I'm not going to go I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use my A finger. But like in a Travis picking situation, I will move my fingers. I will move index and middle up rather than switching to middle and annular. To me, that's easier. Is that a rule? No, that's not a rule. And it's probably just the way I learned. I'm noticing that that like the textbooks, which is great. It's a whole history thing. Okay, here's in 1 minute. Here's the chronology of right hand development, okay, in guitar education. It started out with the lutes, and we played lutes and vihuelas, okay, in the Renaissance, and we played thumb index. That's all we played, thumb index, okay. And then we got the composers like John Dowland said, and Robert Dowland said, oh wait, we got too many notes. We better put that middle finger in there, okay? And then in the classical era, we had composers like Carcassi and Sohr and Giuliani, and we know they put their pinky here, and they rested these fingers on the fretboard, I mean on the soundboard, because they had to hold the guitar up. They didn't have a way to do it. They didn't have guitar straps yet. They put the guitars next to like a table, and then they held the guitar like this. And so we know that they didn't use their ring finger. Okay, so they just used thumb, index, middle. Okay? And then came along the flamenco players. And finally, Francisco Targa wrote this down. Yes, exactly. That's the picture of Fernando Sor holding his guitar just like that. So he used only thumb, index, middle. And so along came Targa, and he taught his students to use the ring finger. And he said, we're going to use a guitar footstool, okay? And no longer do we have to hold on to the soundboard. So let's use our thumb, our index, our middle, and our ring finger, okay? And so now we have 4 fingers in our right hand to use. Great. So I imagine, but still, the A finger was, not favored. Index and middle were favored. I think that my students are going to start using their pinkies, right? I think it's just evolution, right? It's just evolution, right? Me, too much gray hair, no. But but my students, yeah, they're going to use their pinkies, okay? So to that question, would it be okay to use M and A on the upper strings? Yeah, go for it. For sure. Because I know from watching the newer method books coming out that M and A are being more favored than like the books, that were coming out that actually when I was in school that I used. Okay. So yes, so I think it's an evolution, and pretty soon we're gonna be using our pinkies, and I hope to see you guys doing it. Do you find that Travis picking has advantage over the classical right hand? Oh. I think there's a place for both Travis picking and classical right hand, because the Travis picking is a pattern, and you're stuck with it. Whereas the thing about the classical technique is it's not a pattern, so it all comes from the music, So a composer or you or the improviser can write anything, and you're not stuck into that pattern, So the technique does not determine the music. So I think the Travis picking is just a pattern that you can, creates a certain type of feel. So I guess that has its own advantage, but maybe not the advantage for creativity. And which books that are well, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Royal Conservatoire of Music textbooks, but if you look at that series of technique and repertoire books, the editors there, they finger the right hand and the left hand, and they use a ton of A finger in there. Where if you look like the old books by Julio S. Segreras, his method book, index middle all the time. You look at the Carcassi method, index middle. You look at Segovia's Soar Segovia studies. The A finger is used only for the melodies. So it's a kind of an interesting evolution that you can see in these textbooks, how it's moving along. What are your thoughts on teaching left-handed students? Oh, I do have some thoughts about that. Okay, so if a student comes to me and they say they've already played guitar and they're left-handed and they have experience and that they're left-handed and they play well left-handed, go for it. Don't relearn. Okay, if a student comes to me and says, I am left-handed, but I don't play guitar yet, let's try it the traditional way. I mean, how many of you have had this experience where you give your students guitars and the first day of class, like half of them are holding the guitar this way because, this is the hand that's doing all the work, they think, right? So plenty of students are holding the guitars upside down because they think this is the hand that's going to be, the hardest working one. So they're putting their right hand over there. So I'll have everyone start right-handed, and you can pretty much see within a week or two, whether the left-handed student is just having a harder time than is necessary. Because some folks are superly dominant left-handed, and it's just conceptual. Because the right hand, your plucking hand, this is your plucking hand, and that's your engine. So it being guitar class, we have the freedom to adapt. Orchestras don't. They don't adapt, right? Your orchestra doesn't adapt, but guitar class does. So if it's obviously a conceptual thing, I don't want the student leaving. I want them to stay in guitar and to enjoy. And there are options to get left-handed guitars, and you can just simply, if it's a lower level instrument, just take the bridge out, flip it around, change the strings. There you go. The only problem the student's going to encounter is as they develop and they want nicer instruments, the instruments they buy are going to have to be a little bit more expensive to get a left-handed instrument that's specifically left-hand. So I obviously will accommodate the left-handed student, but if they haven't played guitar before, let's try it as a righty just because they have more options then. And if they go, out with friends and, it's time, let's all get together and do some jamming and there's no left-handed guitar, they can still play. Otherwise, they can't play. Oh, yeah. How can I improve my speed while also keeping a good quality sound? Well, okay. So how can you improve speed while keeping a good quality sound? So the answer is planting. Okay? This idea of sound quality coming from your right hand in this case, your plucking hand, is that you have to touch the string before you play. Okay? So whatever you do, however fast you want to go, you have to make sure that you're feeling the string right before you play. You're feeling the string, then you play. You feel that contact point, and then you play. You can only go as fast as you can consistently find your contact point. We lose the sound quality when we're not consistently finding the same spot that we're contacting the string. Okay? So, I think we've all heard this before. Slow down. I hate to say it. Slow down. Be consistent. And then do a speed burst. Was it the sound you wanted? Good. Can you do that for 4 notes? Great. Can you do it for 6 notes? Great. Can you do it for 20 notes? Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Okay? But if you can't, go back slow. And just be very consistent about finding the contact point. Okay? So let me just say, your contact point, we talked a little bit about it, is on the very tip of your finger. Okay, the very tip of your finger. Not down here, but very much on the tip of your finger. And that's the place you touch the string and then play. Touch the string and then play. That's the place we're planting from. Either the sequential or the full plant, the simultaneous plant. Listen, thank you guys for spending time on your Wednesday night. I'm so glad you could join us. Can we share my email? So please be sure to email me with any questions, comments. So I've been at Vandercook for, I think this is my 26th year. Wow. And I can tell you, it's great. It's great. It's a great place to teach, and I feel so happy about the students that I get to work with, and so proud of them as they go off and have this wonderful career. That the students I get to work with are passionate about teaching and passionate about music, and that the fantastic doors that Vandercook opens for them. Yes, most of them do go into music education, which is fantastic. And even the folks who choose not to go directly into music education, the skills that they acquire, the degree that they get, opens doors for them to do music related professions. And it's, I feel privileged to work there, and so happy to see my students have lives that are enriched by this program. So I'm so glad you could come and join us and learn a little bit about guitar, and we could talk guitar and have some fun.